It's officially 2026. So to start the new year off properly, let's review last year because I'm not quite done with it yet. This is the last video going over the last year before fun new videos come your way. We've got a Christmas haul coming and a 2026. So let's find my favourite books for last year before we start dipping our toes into 2026. Hi guys, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. I thought let's start the year off by reviewing last year and looking at what was my favourite book from each of the months of my reading last year. Now, every month I've picked one book except from May where I read like 20 books and I picked 3, but they're all different genres. So I felt like it was allowed. We're going to go through them today, talk through them, why were they my favourites, what made them stand out from the rest, and just giving you a bit of a flavour to my reading taste throughout the year. Before we do that, I'm going to do a small little weeny bit of housekeeping. So as you can see, my room's still decorated for Christmas. It's currently the 29th December. My Christmas decorations will be coming down tomorrow, so I'm sorry, you guys will have to suck up the Christmas decks. Actually, one second, there we go, no more sucking up the Christmas decks. It's 2026, people, we don't want Christmas around. But small minor bit of housekeeping, we are going to be changing my channel a little bit this year, not in terms of content. I will still be putting content out, but I think with my reading this year I ended up putting myself into a couple of slumps because I felt pressured to read for this channel, and reading is a hobby, and now that I'm back home especially, I don't get as much reading done as I would like. That's very evident because December has been a pretty free month for me. I've had a lot of editing to do, what with Bookmas, but I've read about 5 or 6 books and I'm now trying to cram in the last few books that I want to get done before the end of the year now, and I don't want to feel this way. I read 150 books plus this year, which is incredible, and I'm very proud of that achievement, but I think my Goodreads goal is going to be 100 books again next year, and I'm completely happy with that. Actually, I think that is a very sustainable amount. But with that being said, I might be releasing reading videos with less than 3 books in. They might be shorter videos, there might be more just one book videos like scavenger hunts or more sit down talking videos. I think I suffer from a lot of imposter syndrome where I don't want to give recommendations because I don't think that anyone else is going to listen to them or like them, but actually it's something I feel passionate about. We all know I can give those reviews really clearly, and so for that reason I'm going to be shifting the channel a little bit. I'm continuing on with the lifestyle stuff. I love that. I love my productivity side of stuff that I have started doing. I like doing morning routines, evening routines, helping me stay in routine, those types of videos, and they will be continuing. I want to start picking up the camera more and filming more of my day for you guys, and so that will definitely be something that I'm working towards this year. With that being said, the way I'm kind of planning to do a lot of this is pre-filming my videos, especially the reading ones, a month in advance. So I have just sat down and filmed my February TBR because they are going to be books that you will see in February, which I will read in January. So I'm going to be trying to front load a lot of my filming the month before so I can have them filmed and edited, and then if anything goes wrong, if I fall ill, if my editing takes a little bit longer, if life happens, because life often happens, I'm not then feeling stressed and rushed going, oh no, I have this video and it needs to go out tomorrow that I've not filmed. Kind of get my drift. So I will continue to be active on TikTok, and I'm going to start trying to post reviews over there so you guys can see more real-time reviews, but video wise that they will be coming out kind of a month later, which is why my Goodreads might not always correspond to what I'm reading that month. But I'm very excited for 2026 and to see what we've got in store. But housekeeping over, let's go into my favourite books of the year. I'm going to start in January and work my way down to December. These are my top 15 books of the year. Top 14 books of the year, because we've got one for each month and May has got an extra 2. So we've got top 14 books of the year. Some of them won't shock you, some of them I think will, because some of them shocked me as well. But we are starting way back in January, and we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. And in this book you are following 2 women who are birthday twins. They have the same birthday, they were born on the same date and also on the same year, so they both end up on their birthdays going to the same restaurant to celebrate their birthdays, and one of the women knows the other woman because of her podcast, and she convinces this woman to restart her podcast with her as her focus, rebranding her life, changing her into be the woman that she wants to be. Now with this, there are lots of things that she learns about her life and lots of concerning things and worrying things, and you as a reader and as a podcast host figuring out what part of it is true, none of it feels true, some of it is true, what's going on. And this is is obviously got podcast elements into it, which are so beautifully interwoven in the audiobook. I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you are picking up this book, to pick up the audiobook version. What I will say is I did struggle with the difference between the audiobook and the actual story sometimes when listening to it, because I listen to my books on obscene speed and sometimes it kind of blurred into one, but that audiobook element was beautiful, and I would highly, highly recommend this book to anyone and everyone, and especially the audiobook, because it is wonderful. So we've got Lisa Jewell, None of This Is True, as our January top book of the month. Sorry if I've changed position, I had to get a drink, I was parched. So February top book was a tough one. I don't think many books stood out for me in February. I read a lot of romance, with it being Valentine's Day and that being the style of videos that I wanted to pump out. It didn't gel with me. I missed the thriller mystery side of my reading taste, and I think moving forward I need to be really aware of that, and actually just because it's Valentine's Day or Christmas, I'm not going to just pump out books for videos for YouTube which don't allow me depth, and so that is definitely something I'm more aware of this year, this month. We have Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book, you are following Wyn and Harriet, and these two have been like known as the perfect couple. However, they have split up. I just wanted to check that it was on the back. So however, this year they have broken up and they are going on a friends holiday that they've done every single year as this perfect couple, and they've split up. Their friends don't know, and they were going to take in turns with going to this holiday. However, the friend that owns the house has turned around and said, again, just checking it's on the back, we're selling the cottage that they stay in, so everyone has to come. It's kind of a last hurrah. It's their last time to go to this cottage that they've been in for years and years and years and celebrate all that time together. So they are struggling with that, obviously, but they both decided to go and they are going to fake it. Basically, no one knows that they've split up. They're faking it. They're going to fake being together, and naturally with that comes like fake dating, one room, one bed kind of style. I enjoyed this book. I do think if I was to reread this, I wouldn't necessarily give this one a 5-star. I think I was drawn into the hype of everyone else absolutely loving this book, and I kind of told myself I had to love it because I was reviewing it for YouTube and everyone loves it, and so I need to love it. And I did really enjoy it. I did have a great time with the characters. The setting was beautiful, but I feel I rushed reading the book as well, and this is definitely a book that I want to potentially sit down and reread and re-go into and just sit in the world a lot more rather than force content out of it. So I do definitely think that this year again is something that I'm going to move away from having absolutely every single book that I read part of a video, because sometimes you do just need to sit over a book, and I think this one probably would have been one that I would have enjoyed better had it been the only book I was reading at the time and I was really getting myself immersed in the world. 5 stars still, Emily Henry. Then we move on to March, and March again was another month of, I put myself into a bit of a reading slump in February of reading all the romances, and March kind of showed that. I wasn't really wanting to read anything. Everything I did read was mediocre. I didn't have any outstanding ones until I came along to The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Those of you that know and that are the same as me will know how much this upset me. I was getting all my books out and they fell off the shelf, and I caught this book on the metal bit underneath and I cracked the top. I'm trying to hide my face so it will show you. I kind of cracked the top now and I'm very sad, but we've got The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I'm even more sad because I didn't actually physically read these books. I read them on my Kindle, so they were pristine, which is unusual because when I read a book, I love reading a book and showing that the book is loved. This one is now loved through no fault of mine. But we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and in this book you are following 5 teenagers who have natural abilities. So the main character, Cassie, is natural at reading people. Someone else is also naturally at reading people. Then you've got someone who's natural at telling lies and also spotting lies. You've got someone who's really good with statistics and someone who is a natural at reading emotions and emotionally sense people. So you've got these 5 teenagers and they've been hired by the FBI to solve cold cases that use their natural abilities. So looking back through the files and seeing if there's anything that the FBI have missed that through their natural abilities they can pick up on and appreciate, and kind of see if they can give them another lead that they've not necessarily gone down. I loved this book. You do kind of fall in love with the characters. I didn't enjoy the Inheritance games that much, but everyone was saying these books are where it's at. These books are the books that Jennifer Lynn Barnes needs to be known for, because everyone loves the Inheritance games, but actually the Naturals is so much better. And I couldn't agree more. I loved the books. I loved their story. I loved the characters and the romances and the trials and tribulations that they go through, seeing all the different cases that they work on, and also how they get kind of caught up in everyday life as well. And the twists and turns in this series are just incredible. You do really get drawn in, and it does bring me along to May's book, which I will give you a sneak peek, because in May we've got 3, so I don't think this is that bad. But May, one of my favourite books in May is Bad Blood, which is the finale of the series, and just the series as a whole is incredible, but Bad Blood especially tore me up. This one is trauma inducing. It not like trigger warning wise, but just you get so connected to these characters, and then in this book they get so caught up in this investigation and in this plot point, and there is like risks on the line, and there are things happening that made me cry. They made me feel like scared, sick for them. I was fully caught up in the characters, and I think that this is one of the most underrated books that I've read this year by myself. I forgot how good these books were, and I think these are types of books that I could definitely go back and reread and find more things out, and just I loved them so much, and I would highly recommend everyone to read these, because I think they are so easy to read. They're such an easy, simple read that has like a mystery kind of element, but that are beautiful, and you get so hooked in with the characters and you love the characters. And yeah, wonderful reads, wonderful books, and would highly recommend. Moving back from May to April, to go from my April read. If anyone is new around here, this will shock you, or not shock you, but this will be information. If you have been around here for a while, you know exactly what book I'm going to hold up, because it was a new release in April, and there was a whole dedicated video just to this book, and we have Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I still cannot get over the naked hardcover of this book. Wow, incredible. And the fact that my version of this book is signed. I'm trying not to show you the reversible dust jacket, because obviously that could spoil something if you've not read the series, but my book is signed. Incredible. So I can't obviously tell you what this book is about, but this series is about Kai and Payton, and Kai is the enforcer of Ilya, and he is the king's son, and his job is to banish or get rid of anyone who doesn't have powers in their land, because they had a plague go through, and part of that plague gave people like supernatural powers. You are then following Payton, and she is an ordinary, but that means someone who doesn't have powers, and obviously she is pretending to have powers so she doesn't get banished. She is faking being a psychic. She one day saves Kai from a mugger or something happening in the street, and because of that she gets drawn into the trials that they have a name but I can't remember. She gets drawn into the trials that they hold each year for the land, basically. I see the resemblance to Hunger Games. I never read The Red Queen, and I know that everyone says there's a strong resemblance to that, and I can appreciate that viewpoint. I did, however, love these books for what they were. Fearless was such a beautiful ending to the story for me. It made me cry, it made me laugh, it gripped me in. Like I said, I read this whole book in a day, and I do not read any books in a day, so I loved this finale, and I think this is actually one of the best books I have read this year. I loved it so much with all my heart, and yeah, Lauren Roberts, she did it again. I did not, however, like Fearful. If you've been here for a while, you will know I hated Fearful, but Fearless, incredible. Moving on, we then have May's books. So obviously we've got Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Then we move on to Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. In this book, you are following Nina, and every year she has an end of summer party where she invites everyone along, and they all celebrate, obviously, the end of summer. Anyone who's anyone's there. She's a surfer and supermodel. She's got her brothers and her baby sister, and they are a fascination in Malibu. They've got this beautiful house on the side of a cliff. They are right by the beach. Through this book, you are following kind of alternate timelines. You kind of see how the family came to be as they are. You see what happened to their parents and their side of the family. You see what's happening in other points of their lives, what happens to other people around the party's lives, because by midnight the party is completely out of control, and by morning the mansion will have gone up in flames, and so you're kind of living, you know that that's the ending, and you go back and you see how they got to that, but also how the connections that they're in are their connections. And it sounds so complicated to explain, but I listened to this book, I listened to most of Taylor Jenkins Reid's books purely for the fact that they are just so beautifully narrated, and it's gorgeous, and you feel like you are hearing the story through the character's lens. I loved this book. This one is my favourite Taylor Jenkins Reid's book, which I think is an unpopular opinion. I know everyone loves The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. That's the only book I physically read, and I didn't enjoy that one as much, so that is why from now on I've listened to all of them via the audiobook. Everyone's also been loving Atmosphere, which I read on holiday where I just slept a lot, so I kind of dipped in and out of that story, and I think that negatively impacted it for me, and I would be interested to give it another listen. And then also The Seven Husbands, Daisy Jones and the Six, which I didn't like as much. Malibu Rising for me was my absolute favourite TJR book that I've ever read, so highly recommend. But I do recommend the whole kind of her famous interconnected series. They're slightly interconnected. Carrie Soto is Back as well is another really, really good one, and she has a cameo in this, but I love this one the most. They're all really good. This one's my favourite. And the last book that we've got for me is Cryptic Pursuit by, mine says JT Philpott, but she's just gone to JT now. And in this book you are following Serena and Matteo, and they are both investigators, and they end up investigating this masked killer, but the masked killer ends up becoming slightly obsessed with someone, and they end up getting a lot closer to the drama than they should have, as well as it is a kind of a thriller romance, so as well as developing a budding romance between the two investigators, which also have history in there, which as a reader you are going through and you are finding out. I love this book so much. I couldn't put it down. It was incredible. I got it in my Indecent Book Box subscription, and this one for me has been the absolute best one that we've got out of that subscription pot yet. I loved it. I was so excited for book 2 to come out at the end of last year. Unfortunately, the author has had to put that back for a little while due to personal reasons, and it's just not quite being ready. She's changed it from a duology into a trilogy just because there's so much more that she wants to explore into that. And do you know what? I am fed up of books being absolutely rushed out and mass produced. I would rather the authors wait, take their time, really perfect that story, and then we get a perfect story come to us, than a lot of the books that we're seeing nowadays where they feel kind of half-hearted, half done. So I will wait and wait and wait for that second book to come out, but just know when it comes out I am sat and I'm so excited to read it. And this book is on Kindle Unlimited, so if you've not picked it up yet, please go and pick it up because it was incredible. Moving on to June, I now have a run of books which I don't own physically, and in June we have got Caravel by Stephanie Garber. In this book you are following, I want to say Stephanie, but that's not, because that is the author's name. It begins with an F. I know the other sister's called Donatella. Scarlett. So in this book you are following Scarlett, and she has been a fan of Caravel, which is this magical game, for years and years and years and years and years. And every year she writes a letter to Legend, who is the master of the game, to go and join Caravel. She never gets a ticket. One year her and her sister tell her, go and get a ticket, and they go over to Caravel. And the main point of Caravel is it's not real. Nothing you see is, not nothing, but lots of what you see is not real, and a lot of people get themselves confused in the story thinking that what's going on is real, and they get kind of all caught up and they don't end up winning. But if you win the game, you win a wish of your choice, because Legend is magical, so you can have anything you want to wish for, you can get. When Scarlett gets there, her sister Tella gets kidnapped, and that's kind of the game it is for her to find her sister, because her sister is missing and Legend has kidnapped her, and it was all part of the plan basically. Her sister gets kidnapped, Scarlett then has to go and find her and follow the clues and follow the Caravel game and not try and get too caught up in everything. And there's romance in there, there's like magic, there's tales and rhymes and like villains and good people dressed as villains and villains dressed as good people, and it's an incredible story. I loved it. I have not stopped thinking about it, and I've only now been able to pick up book number 2, which made me really sad because I wanted to pick this one up a lot earlier than what I did. So I am currently enjoying book number 2, which is Legendary, and then I'm very intrigued to also get into Finale and then Spectacular before moving on to the Broken Heart series, because everyone says Once Upon a Broken Heart, and that series of trilogy is so much better than Caraval, so that's really intriguing. Moving on, we then have July, and in July, my favourite book of July, and I think runner-up with like Fearless, one of my favourite books of the year, is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. In this book, you are following Jacob, who I need to find out what her name is. I'm really bad with names in real life as well. I can tell you what the story's about, I can't tell you. That's it. So oh, my hip killing me. Let's just go for a little stand up. Okay, so Yours Truly is about, sorry, I've just had to stand up with hip pain. I'm so old now. Yours Truly is about Jacob, and he is a doctor, a new doctor coming to this hospital where Brianna works, and Brianna is our female main character, and she has just recently been divorced, and she's going through this kind of divorce process with a sick brother who needs a kidney transplant, and her ex-husband, I believe, works at the hospital as well. She is struggling with kind of going through the divorce with a man who is just horrible, with a brother who is running out of time, seriously needs a donor, and then also potentially having this promotion coming up as well for being head of staff, I think, something like that. And Jacob goes and joins this hospital, and he is now also put up for promotion because that was a position that he had in his last hospital, and she's kind of feeling it's completely unfair because she knows this hospital, she knows the staff, she knows everyone really, really well, and this Jacob person comes in, and on his first day everything goes wrong. Absolutely everything goes wrong. Every patient he works with dies. Everything goes wrong, and you kind of see this connection form because Brianna has a safe space where she goes, and it is literally a closet. It's just a kind of leaning cupboard, and she goes and hides out in there, and Jacob stumbles in there one day, and basically she works out that he's got anxiety, and she supports him, helps him kind of connect with the staff, and he supports her through her brother and transplants and stuff. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story of romance and anxiety, and Abby Jimenez's books are never low impact, and by that I mean they've always got some sort of sad element to them, whether that is needing a kidney transplant with a divorce, or a few of her other ones are like just lots of them have like family dynamic issues like drug use, alcoholism, incarceration, all sorts going on, but they are beautifully written, and I would highly recommend Yours Truly to absolutely anyone that thinks that they've got anxiety or can relate with that, because it's so well written and it makes you feel so seen in what you struggle with, as well as just the romance that blossoms between them is beautiful. Moving on, we've got August, which we have got When the Cranes Fly South by Lisa Ridson. This is this is a sad book. This is about a old man who has lost his wife. His wife has got dementia and is in a home, and so he's lost his wife from the house, and you're following him and the family make decisions about his life, which I feel are very real, about things like him needing people to come in and care for him, what happens with the dog, what happens in the house, what's going on with him, having to help him go see his wife, having to make sure that he's not hurting himself, and seeing things go wrong and seeing things blossom and seeing how he forgets things as well as like misses out on things, and you're in the old man's head, so you're watching him make other people make decisions for him, and it feels so, where he's forgetting things and is all confused, you feel confused because you've only got the same amount of information that he has, and it's quite a sad tale. It reminds me a lot of A Man Called Ove, or A Man Called Ove, however you say it. It is beautifully written, like absolutely beautifully written, and I do feel like it deserves all the praise that it's been given because it is a wonderful story. It is sad, it's very realistic. I think that's what makes it more sad, is it's just so realistic. I can see that these decisions are decisions I'm probably going to have to make on behalf of my grandma, on behalf of my parents, on behalf of like myself as well. When I get to that age, you think that's probably going to happen to me, which is quite a culture shock, I would say. But wonderful book. September, bit of a change of pace, but we've got Hidden Pictures by Jason Verkulak, and this book is what I mean when I say I like my books to look red. This book is water damage, to be fair, but what a book it is. In this book, you are following Teddy, who is a young boy, and he has just had a new nanny come in, and Mallory is the new nanny. She has just got this job working in this house looking after Teddy. He, as children do, starts drawing pictures for Mallory, and they start off really innocent and they don't end that way. So Mallory has a eclectic past, and there's a reason why she can't always get the normal job that everyone else can get, but she's looking after Teddy, and Teddy is drawing these pictures and they get more and more disturbed, and more and more disturbed they get, the more and more you're trying to find out why he's drawing pictures like that and where lots of this is coming from. And obviously parents and Mallory try to stop these things, try to like divulge it, but then there's more to it. And ending I never would have seen coming. I don't read a lot of thrillers like this. I loved it. I want to read more. I'm hoping Jason Rekulak comes out with more work soon, because his writing was beautifully done. And yeah, I loved the element of the pictures. It felt a bit like I was a child again. I know this is not by any means child content. It is very much adult thriller, but it did feel like a bit like a child, where you're reading a children's book and you've got pictures in it and you kind of want to see the pictures. That's what it felt like, and I had to stop myself. When there was a page with a picture on the right hand side, I will cover the picture because I don't want to spoil anything. When there was a page where you obviously read this page first, I had to physically cover the picture because I wanted to read the page first before I looked at the pictures. And I loved this book. You will get sucked in, and I read it so quickly. So this deserves all the hype that it's been given. Highly recommend. October, we move on again to another romance, and this romance we are following a kind of a bad boy biker man and the sweet, innocent, quirky girl with a pixie cut. This is Ruthless by E.G. Barman. You are following a quirky, she's called as a pixie. She was introduced in Dependent as the female main character's best friend, and then in Ruthless you are following the fourth and final friend out of the boys' friendship group, and it is grumpy sunshine to the max. He is protector, he wants nothing but good for her, and she wants to follow absolutely no rules whatsoever and just wants to get everything done and out the way and kind of ignore him. So I won't give you much more than that, but it was an incredible book. Their romance that blossomed was beautiful. It's one of the romance stories which I just think it kind of enforces that whole I'm gonna change them mindset when you're dating a guy and he's a bad boy and you're like, oh, do you know what though, like you've got a reputation, I've heard about you, but I'm gonna change you, I'm gonna be the one to change you. It reinforces that kind of Delulu mindset, and I loved it. I was here for it. In November we've got The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I love this book. I am yet to watch the TV series. I need to watch it, but we are following Leon and Tiffy. So Tiffy is a normal girl. She has a normal 9-to-5 job where she goes to work, and I can't remember what she does, but she has a normal 9-to-5 job. And Leon is a night nurse, so he obviously works in the evenings and at the night times, and she works during the day. So what did they decide to do? They decided to share this flat, and Leon's like, you can have it on the weekends, evenings, overnight, weekends, you can have it, it's all yours, whereas during the day it's his. And Tiffy has it obviously evenings and weekends, because at the start of the book Leon is dating someone, and then that kind of falls through, but they start leaving little post-it notes for each other, just simple things like I've got some extra food if you want it, it's left on the side, or can you take the bins out please, those types of things. And those post-it notes end up them finding out a lot about each other, and then they end up obviously meeting, and it kind of develops through post-it notes. I loved this story. I loved the audiobook for this one as well. I thought it was beautifully like narrated and written. I'm intrigued to read more of Beth O'Leary's works, and I'm also really intrigued by the TV series, and I do think I will be watching that one relatively soon. And our final book of the year, my December 5-star read, my December favourite read, is The Reading List by Sarah Nisha Adams. This book is beautiful. In this book you are following a widower, and his wife has recently passed away, and she was an avid reader. So he ends up picking up one of her books that she's left on the side and reads through it and falls in love, reads the book really quickly, decides it comes from the library, I need to take it back to the library, ends up one day going to the library to take it back, couldn't give it back, but asked the receptionist there for a recommendation for a book. And she is a teenage girl and she doesn't like reading. This is a summer job for her. She doesn't want to be there, she doesn't want to do this, so she kind of is a bit rude and sends him on his way. And he goes over and he's like, fine, then I'll go and have a look, picks up the highway code and starts reading that to not make himself look silly. And she comes over, speaks to him, and he is rude again, and he then runs out with this highway code and leaves, and obviously it's noise, like I want to say sirens, but you know when you try and steal things, goes off and ends up leaving. And anyway, he then gets a phone call about returning that book, as well as a phone call about a book being reserved for him because the teenage girl went away. She found this reading list that all the people have gone through and starts reading the book from there, ends up reserving it for him and suggesting it. You end up seeing kind of their friendship develop and watching him go through grieving his ex-wife and how that looks like, as well as she ends up going through quite a few things in her personal life as well and seeing the support from him. But you also see where this list has been. This list has been to so many different people. So many different people have seen the same list, and watching their kind of opinions on books change and how community is formed and how different people might see the same thing and interpret in different ways. It was a beautifully written book. It was a gorgeous like nod to friendship and building relationships with people that you might not necessarily build relationships to, like the older person down the street that you don't normally talk to, just seeing how they are, having a chat. It might not always go that way, but building those relationships, it was a beautiful nod to that, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that wants a new book to sink their teeth into, because it was beautiful. And once I got into it, I really enjoyed it. I did find that the audiobook was my preferred method of reading it. I did have to slow it down because Mukesh is Indian, I believe, and is as right as he should be, read by an Indian narrator, so has quite a strong Indian accent, which is hard to understand on my normal speed. So I slowed it down and I got myself into it and I loved it. Those are my 14 top books of the year. Obviously I've not got all 14 here, but I hope you guys have found a recommendation from this. Let me know down below what your favourite book of the year was, because I'm intrigued. I like looking through and looking for some recommendations, so let me know. And yeah, thank you guys for all your support in 2025. Here's 2026 and some more wholesome content that you guys will see throughout the year. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.